Hi, this is Jake Roden back again for another CATIA 3DExperience prismatic machining video. This time we're going to be going over pocketing. So here we can see our part design, little part that we made. So obviously we just have kind of a little part, and then we have this big pocket in it right here. And obviously we have our safety plane. You can see we just did a multi-pad, so we just did two squares in a sketch and then raised one up a little bit more than the other. Alright, so same as always, jump over to prismatic machining. Then obviously we're going to make our generic machine again. And then our rough stock. Now for this, we aren't going to do, because typically since we're going to be doing pocketing, yes, let's make sure we can see it right. There we go. So typically if you were making obviously an actual part, your stock would not be perfectly the size like this. You would have it, out a little bit on all sides. So you'd have to come in and do these profiling sides, milling out this side, and then doing these facing cuts. But just for this example, we're going to keep it two sides, since all we're going to be showing off is just this pocketing. So obviously we have our rough stock. As always, let's hide that. Edit our part operations. So we got our design part, got our rough stock over here, then we have our safety plane right here. And then with your feed and speed configuration, obviously it's optional, but if you're doing it for pocketing, that's going to be profile contouring. It's not going to be grooving or face milling or any of that. You could leave it undefined, but for this it's going to be profile contouring. And then I'm just switch over to finishing, just because, can't hurt. So press OK. Then we're going to make our end mill. So this is going to be a little bit different than usually, at least when we've built end mills. So typically, obviously, you can see down here, this end mill has a radius. Now, if we jump back over to part design, you can see here that there are no radiuses on these corners, or on these internal edges. This is a flat 90 degree. And you could get this if you simply, let's hide that, if you edit this end mill, where'd my end mill go? Is the end mill hiding? Oh, here we go. Hey, there we go. Is it gonna let me edit it? No, okay, let's delete that end mill. Yes, delete it. Let's make a new one. Resource creation. End mill. Here we go. So we're back to where we're going here. So now, obviously, if we wanted that to be that true 90 degrees, we'd have to take this radius and make it 0. But obviously, depending on the fitment of your part, if you have something fitting that needs to fit right at that 90 degrees, then yes, you'll want to make sure that you have just a 90 degree, no radius. But a lot of the time for structural safety, it's good to have that bottom edge of your part actually be curved, because it's leaving a lot less points for stress and a lot less points for breakages. So we are going to leave a radius on this. So obviously it's not true to the actual final part. So if you were designing this part, you would want to make sure that you're keeping that true. So if you're programming, you always want to make sure that you're keeping it true to the part. But for this example, we're just going to say that we want to use an end mill with some radius on it to keep a little radius on it. So we're just going to make a 1/2 inch end mill. Doesn't need to be super long, because I think it's just a 1/2 inch pocket right there. Not doing any feature recognition. We'll jump over to programming. This will be in prismatic machining. You can see right here we got pocketing. So now, same as usual with the tool selection, let's go select our tool right here. Don't want to keep searching. And then for selecting the bottom plane, and obviously you can kind of see it here in this little pictogram. So this is not the bottom plane. This is going to be the bottom of our pocket that we want to select right there. And then it'll automatically select the contour of that pocket. And you can go in and delete this contour and change it if you need to. But here it's just auto-selected the 4 kind of walls, the 4 contour points that we're going off of. And so then obviously you have all your other optional, start point, end point, your planes and everything, islands, any pocket types, so if you have a closed or open pocket, so this is going to be a closed pocket. Bottom types, offsets, any of those things you need to do. Obviously we have our tool in there, of course. We have the different types of paths, so we can go in helical, back and forth, offset one way, direction of cut, so if you want to do climb or conventional milling, tolerances, compensations, tool diameters, if you want to do it in levels, finishing passes, all those kind of different little things you can get into. If you're doing different axes, and then we have, same as usual, our macros, so let's open all these up, and select our safety plane for our approach and retracts. Our clearance has already selected our safety plane as usual, and then for our linking, retraction, approach, we got to put those planes in and select those. So, put it in, and just same as usual, you're pressing this little axial motion up to plane, press on that pink plane, press on your safety plane. So once we've got those in, and then we got our feeds and speeds and everything, we can double check that everything looks good, and we can press simulate. And obviously we can see here, we have our end mill coming down into the middle, and then dropping down into that part, and we can see the tool path of it going around axially and cutting all that up. Now we can turn our speed down so we can see it a little bit better, and move simulation options out of the way so we can watch this, and we can watch as it comes in and runs around the whole part. And now what we can do as well is press on our enable disable material removal deposition, and as usual, if I can get some of these things that way so we can zoom in and see it a little better, we can watch it actually remove that material. Another issue that will arise with doing pocketing, as you can see, is if you don't intend for these corners to be square, that is going to be an issue that's going to arise, because obviously these end mills are circular, so you either want to add corners to these pockets already just to make sure that that is part of your design, that you're thinking ahead on doing that machining, or maybe you have to use some kind of different process or tooling. Another issue we can see here that we would have to go back in to fix with that program is obviously it's leaving right in that middle a little line. You can see a couple others, and that is because obviously the way that this was at least automatically programmed, it's not clearing out that whole bottom face because it's got those round surfaces, so it probably just went right around this and avoided it. So you'd want to go back in the program and make sure that that got cleaned up, so you're not having to do anything in post-processing to fix it. And then we can also see, if you can get a good look, you can see that these bottom edges, because this tool is curved, it's got that radius on it, it's adding, well, it's not adding, it is keeping that radius in there. And as I said previously, that can be really good for keeping these walls strong and everything. But obviously if you have something that needs to fit into this pocket that does not have radiused edges that fit right in there, you might have some issues. And that is how you make a pocket in CATIA 3DExperience. Thank you. I hope you, as always, learned something, and have a great day.